Welcome to another FPL video. Today we're covering the best budget defenders, and we've got a few other videos lined up for the best budget midfielders and forwards, and we've already covered the best goalkeepers. Let's get this video to 150 likes and let's just jump straight into it. We have two 4 million defenders today, and the first one is Neco Williams, who is very popular. If we look at his ownership, it's 24.4%. He only scored 4 points last season, but he only played 7 minutes, and he managed to get an assist for Liverpool. And in terms of pre-season, he started 3 games for Nottingham Forest, and some pretty decent stuff. The fact that he has got 1 big chance created in 7 minutes played and 0.41 expected assists is very impressive, but he was playing for Liverpool, and they obviously have a very good system for the fullbacks there, although it's mainly there for the likes of Trent and Robertson, not Neco Williams. So still very impressive stuff, but very, very small sample size. We can't judge too much on what happened there, but he should be a regular starter there for Nottingham Forest, the replacement for Jed Spence, who went off to Spurs, and some decent fixtures. Not great, as you can see. Man City away in Game Week 5 is terrible, Tottenham in Game Week 4, and even Newcastle, Everton and West Ham. You wouldn't expect too many clean sheets there, but there could maybe be an attack in return and possibly 1 clean sheet in the first 5 game weeks. But let's wait and see. For 4 million though, you can't ask for too much more. Someone who can cover in for your other defenders and your other players when they're injured or missing out. And Neco Williams just does the job there at 4 million, playing most games. I think he's going to start every game that he's available for, and you can't ask for too much more at 4 million. The other 4 million defender is Nathan Patterson, who was signed in January, but he hasn't featured in the Premier League yet, and he is seen as the long-term Seamus Coleman replacement. He's being eased into that, but in pre-season he has started every single game, so this could be a great differential at 1.6% ownership, and he could be the 4 million defender of choice. He got 1 assist last season in the Scottish League in 12 matches, and in pre-season, as you can see there, he started every single game, which is very good to see. Chelsea home isn't great, but then some very good fixtures for Everton, much better than Nottingham Forest and Neco Williams, but it's still very close between the two. If I had to pick one, I think I'd lean towards Patterson. The only thing is that he's less nailed than Neco Williams, and just because of that, most people will go for Neco Williams, and that's understandable. Just to have that kind of safe, set and forget 4 million defender who can cover in, and he does the job that way. And you're not going to expect too many clean sheets from either Patterson or Neco Williams, but if Everton can make a few good signings, you would probably back them to do slightly better in the Premier League next season, but that's only on paper, and both of them could be fighting around the same positions. However, Nathan Patterson, keep an eye out for him. He's very underrated, and he could be a great option in the weeks to come. Next up, we have Sven Botman, who is in my current draft, and actually he has featured in the last few that I've made, and in pre-season hasn't gone that well for him so far, and Newcastle have only kept 1 clean sheet, and Botman didn't start that game, and in the other 2 that he did start, they didn't keep a clean sheet, and they lost 3-2 the other day to Benfica, so not great there. His ownership is very nice, 3.4%. He scored 3 goals and got 1 assist in Ligue 1 last season, and he kept 8 clean sheets in only 25 matches, and Lille suffered a huge drop-off from the season before when they won Ligue 1. And as you can see, very good fixtures, at least game weeks 1, 2 and 4, but game weeks 3 and 5 are enough to put anyone off. And, you know, I really like Trippier, for example, at 0.5 million more, but I'd actually rather have Botman to start the season, just because you can rotate him with an Arsenal defender, for example, and we'll cover that very soon, or maybe even a Brighton defender or others around 4.5 million, rather than having Trippier and maybe Neco Williams. I think I'd rather go for the 4.5 million options there, at least to start the season. Otherwise, I think it is worth the extra 0.5 to go for someone like Trippier with all that attacking potential. But Botman's is fairly underrated. I think he can get a couple of goals this season and maybe some assists from set pieces. So watch out for Botman. I think he's a very good option. And Newcastle should be better this season, but let's wait and see, because during pre-season they haven't impressed so much. But it's only pre-season. Let's see how they do in the Premier League. We've also covered Lewis Dunk in previous videos, such as the best defenders overall, and I like his ownership once again, but ownership isn't everything. 1.8% is actually very nice, and I think Brighton have one of the best defences from those options that we have at our disposal. 1 goal and 0 assists last season, not that great, but in the last 5 Premier League seasons overall, he has 12 Premier League goals, and he is the highest scoring defender in the last 3 Premier League seasons combined. 92 FPL points last season, as you can see, and some decent fixtures, although Man United away, I wouldn't expect a clean sheet there. You've got Newcastle home and West Ham away, but those fixtures against Leeds and Fulham could be clean sheets, and Dunk does rotate very well with the likes of Botman and a few others that we're going to discuss here today. And during pre-season, he's kept 1 clean sheet in 2 starts, so nothing that impressive for Brighton or Lewis Dunk, but I think he's very reliable, he gets the job done, and I think you have a better season this time around and break the 100-point barrier in FPL. Let me know your thoughts on this one, and let's now go on to the next one. The forgotten man, Vladimir Coufal, he scored 70 points last season, but 128 in his debut campaign for West Ham. He got 4 assists in the last campaign, which is pretty good, and his expected assist was almost free, despite fewer minutes and a few injury problems there. 4 big chances created, and at only 4.5 million, he could be really good. However, it's worth noting that in pre-season, he has had 2 starts, but in one of them, he was centre-back versus Rangers, and Ben Johnson was the right-back. So watch out for that one. I think there might be a bit of rotation there between Coufal and also Ben Johnson, and that would put me off him slightly, despite the fact they're still pretty impressive and tempting at that price point. I just think there might be better options at 4.5 million that will get more clean sheets than West Ham. But I have to say, the opening fixtures are very good. With Game Week 1 aside, Man City is obviously going to be very difficult. And Tottenham in Game Week 5, yes, West Ham could win that game, but are they going to keep a clean sheet? Maybe, but very unlikely in my opinion. Game Weeks 2 to 4, though, look fantastic, and that's where Coufal can really come into his own. I still think there are better options, though. Diego Dalot's getting a lot of starts in pre-season. He has started every single game possible for United. 4 matches, 4 starts, and also a 4-0 victory over Liverpool where he kept that clean sheet. He's only won so far during pre-season, and United still have a few problems at the back, but Diego Dalot could be decent, and he also got an assist versus Crystal Palace. If we look at a few other stats as well, he scored 54 points last season, and his ownership is 4.3%, but I think that ownership will only increase as we get closer to Game Week 1. He got no goals and no assists last season. His underlying numbers aren't that great, and I wouldn't expect too many attacking returns from him despite the assist in pre-season. Yes, I would expect more this season in terms of attacking returns, but not that much to really say, wow, we really need to get Diego Dalot. But at 4.5 million, he could offer a decent option, and you would expect United to improve defensively under Erik ten Hag. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I think he's going to be one of the more popular options by the time we get to Game Week 1, but it doesn't mean he's the best. I think there are 2 defenders from Brentford that we could consider, Rico Henry and Pontus Jansson, who scored 122 points last season with 3 goals and 4 assists, and his ownership is just shy of 3%. Some very impressive stuff. 8 big chances is incredible. That's even more than Emerick Laporte, and that's also more than the likes of Van Dijk and Matip combined, so really good stuff. 1 big chance created as well, and I have to say Pontus Jansson could be one of the best attacking defenders from a non-top 6 club, so to speak. His XG as well is 4.52. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I think Pontus Jansson could be a fairly underrated 4.5 million option. The problem is that most of us would maybe go for David Raya in goal, and Pontus Jansson is going to be overlooked as a result. And also, a lot of us have doubts about how Brentford are going to push on this season with second season syndrome potentially kicking in. I've mentioned that quite a few times in the last few videos, but maybe if Raya isn't as nailed as he once was, I think there are 2 defenders from Brentford that we could consider, Rico Henry and Pontus Jansson, who scored 122 points last season with 3 goals and 4 assists, and his ownership is just shy of 3%. Some very impressive stuff. 8 big chances is incredible. That's even more than Emerick Laporte, and that's also more than the likes of Van Dijk and Matip combined, so really good stuff. 1 big chance created as well, and I have to say Pontus Jansson could be one of the best attacking defenders from a non-top 6 club, so to speak. His XG as well is 4.52. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I think Pontus Jansson could be a fairly underrated 4.5 million option. The problem is that most of us would maybe go for David Raya in goal, and Pontus Jansson is going to be overlooked as a result. And also, a lot of us have doubts about how Brentford are going to push on this season with second season syndrome potentially kicking in. I've mentioned that quite a few times in the last few videos, but maybe if Raya isn't as nailed as he once was with the signing of Thomas Strakosha, Pontus Jansson could be the go-to Brentford defensive asset. So very underrated by the FPL community, I think. He done very well last season. If Brentford could keep 10 clean sheets or more, I think Jansson could actually be one of the best 4.5 million options at our disposal. Johnny isn't as impressive from an offensive point of view, but during pre-season, 2 starts for him and 2 clean sheets, and Wolves have looked fairly decent actually, and we'll be talking about more of their assets in future videos as well. And he got 38 points last season, 1.3% ownership, but In the 2018-19 season, he scored 103, and in the 2019-20 season, he scored 123 points. So he definitely has it in him to have some pretty good returns across the whole season. And at 4.5 million, you can't really ask for too much more. If Wolves can get their act together and keep plenty of clean sheets, which they're certainly capable of, then Johnny could be a great defender to start the season, for the first 6 game weeks at least. Then from game week 7 to 10, I believe, the fixture run is absolutely diabolical, as certain people would say. But as with Johnny, I still think he's a good option and we should consider him. I actually like how Wolves are doing in pre-season, but it's still very difficult to make a case for going for him. He's going to be playing on both flanks, and that's kind of one plus for him, but at the same time, he's not maybe going to be as nailed as Connor Cody, who's 5 million, and also the other 4.5 million defenders that we're discussing in today's video. That's just my opinion though, and Johnny may well start every single game that you see in the bottom of your screen. Let me know what you think of that one. Is Johnny going to be a nailed-on starter, or is he going to sometimes be on the bench for the likes of Semedo and Aït-Nouri? Don't get me started on rotation with Leicester fullbacks, because that is just a complete headache. It's still worth mentioning that Pereira is now 4.5 million. A few seasons ago, I believe he was 5.5, and it just goes to show that we could have a potential bargain on our hands. 1 goal and 3 assists in 14 matches is actually very impressive, despite an underwhelming campaign overall for the Portuguese right-back, and some decent underlying numbers as well, considering the limited minutes and matches. He scored 146 points in the 2018-19 season and 123 in the following campaign, so he definitely has it in him. Only 35 in the last campaign though, and his ownership is 0.6%, so he could be a mega differential. You've also got James Justin, who I would highly recommend as well, and Timothy Castagna, but as you can just see there, 3 fullbacks or wingbacks, and there's only 2 spots available. But one thing that Leicester have been doing in pre-season sometimes is playing James Justin as a right centre-back and Ricardo Pereira as the right wing-back, and sometimes Justin features as the left wing-back. So during pre-season, he has started 3 games compared to James Justin, who's only started 2, and only 1 of them in a wing-back position. So keep an eye on that situation, but I think to start the season, would I go for Leicester assets defensively? Probably not, because they have some tough fixtures, such as United, Chelsea and Arsenal, where they could win those games, but are they going to keep clean sheets? It's fairly unlikely on paper, and I would rather go for their attacking assets like Maddison, Jamie Vardy and Harvey Barnes, and it's a wait and see with the fullbacks, and once we know who's nailed, we can go in on them, and Ricardo Pereira could be the most nailed and the best 4.5 million option they have to offer. The final defender we're covering in today's video is Ben White, and I think he could be a great way to start the season. A lot of us had Tomiyasu in our earlier drafts, but with the current injury situations, I think Ben White is the better option right now. He scored 107 points last season. His ownership is only 7.9%, and he's only got 1 start during pre-season, but he got a clean sheet in a 4-0 victory over Chelsea. No goals and no assists last season, just a bit like Dalot. You know, not that much attacking threat, and I wouldn't expect that to really change. Only 1 big chance created, and his XG was under 1. His expected assists was just over 1. Nothing spectacular, as you can see, but what you can get with Benjamin White is starts at centre-back and also at right-back. So when he's deployed as the right-back to cover for the injured Tomiyasu, you've also got Saliba, who can fill in Ben White's position as the right centre-back. So Arsenal have plenty of options all of a sudden at the back, and Ben White is very dependable. He's always available. That's a big plus that he has. So I think he could actually be a great option. Arsenal have some fantastic fixtures, so Ben White could be your Tomiyasu replacement and one of the best 4.5 million defenders in the entire game, at least to start the season. So we've covered the best 4.5 and 4 million defenders in the game. I personally would think that Botman is the best of the lot, but there's also the likes of Pereira. If he can be nailed, I think he could pit everyone else because of his attacking threat, and Leicester should be better this season so long as they don't get too many injuries, and they're not in Europe, so they could be quietly underrated and maybe challenge for the top 6, or at least be in a good position in 7th or 8th and have a good season overall. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all pans out. Ben White also arguably plays in the best team of all the players covered in this video at 4.5 million, and don't forget the 4 million options. Patterson and Neco Williams look pretty good. I favour Patterson just about over Neco Williams, but it's very close between the two, and at 4.5 million you could argue even more so. Johnny's having a great pre-season, and the same goes for Wolves. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's get this video to 150 likes, and we're very close to 15,000 subscribers, so let's keep on pushing. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also become a Patreon or a channel member. The links are in the description below, and also don't forget to join the Discord server and the FPL League. Everything is there in the description. So take care, enjoy the rest of the summer break, and all the best of luck for the upcoming season, and I'll see you next time.